Blog Talk Radio.
Good day, Hempsters. This is your Hempreneurial host, Tyler Hemp with HempAware Radio. It's a beautiful sunny day in California. I hope the sun is shining wherever you are, and if it's not, hopefully it's shining on the inside. Well, we are going to focus on what's most important in the world right now, and on this show, we're talking about hemp seeds, hemp farmers, and making it hempin'. This is where we put emphasis on what's most important to you. What is your dream? What is your purpose? What is your mission? Well, no matter what it is that you do, who you are, what you're doing in the world, we're here to encourage you to do one thing with hemp. Our goal is to assist you in overcoming the challenges you've been having with hemp at this time. And we aim to inspire you to continue following your highest visions and dreams. Today is March 11th, 2017, as we're broadcasting live. And you also might be listening to a recorded version of the show. But either way, thank you so much for your awareness. Thank you for your time. And ultimately, you're investing in yourself. By listening to HempAware Radio, I commend you for continuing your education and being humble enough to keep learning about the essential benefits, value, history, and future of cannabis hemp. I'm committed to creating a global paradigm shift in consciousness with this show and all the content, the products, and services that my team and I are putting together for you with HempAware. So I'm here to inspire, educate, motivate, and uplift you to utilize cannabis for your clothing, your food, your energy uses, healing, and ultimately what I see is imagine a world where millions of people are living in healthy, hempy homes made from sustainable materials that are friendly to the environment. They're extremely efficient, long-lasting, and quite simply, they're very, easy to build compared to other methods. So picture these same people working for companies who we believe in, and we have a deeper sense of purpose while working with these companies. Well, this is just a glimpse of the world that I envision each day. And I want to inspire you to see your personal best vision for yourself and the people around you. So on this episode, I'd like to introduce you to a longtime farmer and now hemp advocate, someone who I just recently was introduced to. He's a certified hemp seed distributor. He's doing some really amazing things, has some crucial knowledge on hemp seeds, hemp seed distribution, organic seeds, certified seeds, and the like. So his name is Corey Sharp. And he is sharp, that is. I met him, and he's got some really great background knowledge and experience to bring the hemp seeds to the market. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And if you're anyone you know might be interested in farming industrial hemp, you're going to be stoked to learn about some of the things that we're going to discuss today. His company is hemplogicUSA.com. And we'll get into some of their stellar products and services today. But before I bring on Corey, I want to remind you that you can listen to any of the archived hemp episodes on the iTunes podcast library. Just type in the word HempAware. You can also visit hempaware.com/radio. Also, if you have any questions or want to bring any people onto the show or have topics that you want us to cover, email me at support@hempaware.com. And without further ado, welcome aboard. Corey, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk about hemp seeds with you today.
Well, thanks for having me, Tyler. It's been a week or two trying to get this thing done. Our schedules are busy. Thanks for having me.
I know. We were having some technical difficulties with computers and internet, but that's the way of life. So we just keep moving forward.
It is life.
So tell our listeners a little bit about your background, your history, and ultimately how you were led up to working with industrial hemp, and maybe share with us how long you've been working in this industry so far.
Well, it's my time in the hemp stratosphere here is kind of short compared to some of you guys. But not quite a year ago, Washington State, where I live, was trying to push forth a hemp bill. And the governor decided that he was going to veto it, and I got really upset about it. And I said, "Damn it, I'm going to go ahead and plant some seeds anyway." And I contacted the rep who was trying to push forth the bill, and we contacted him. And Long story short, they ended up not vetoing it, but they ended up overriding the veto, putting the bill forth, and the process of the rule building and everything, which is just it's such a, as anybody knows, anything to do with the law and in hemp and in any kind of sativa plant, it just gets so convoluted. But anyway, we went and started looking at, and speaking with you, was, what's the one thing that we could do? My partner and I sat down and was like, okay, well, if we're going to get into hemp, what are we going to do? And it's a funny story. We went to a networking event just this last Saturday, and after the main speaker spoke, I got a chance to speak about my company. And I said, how many of you getting into hemp realized they went down a rabbit trail and they looked up all of a sudden after many hours of being on the computer and they got 20 bookmarks open, and everybody raised their hand. Exactly. And that's where we were at. And I think, you and I had a little bit of a chat about that. Just trying to find one thing that you could focus on. And being a farmer, my background is I grew up on a farm, and my partner, he's farming now over 3,000 acres. The farming background really kicked in and was like, well, if we're going to do this, what's the first thing we need to do? And it's the seed. You do a little research on the internet, there's not a lot of seed. And the states, and then going back to the law part of this, the states make it very difficult, or some of them have. We're fortunate enough that Washington State has done a really good job of building a hemp program, trying to control the seed that's brought in. And I think there's probably some of the listeners out there that are like, well, I've got a friend that has a friend, and we've got some seed. Well, okay, but when you're looking at it on a farming level, when you're putting in hundreds or thousands of acres, you can't do that. You have to have a very precise and very, what's the word I'm looking for, even seed. I mean, you when you put it in the ground, you want it to grow the way that you expect it to grow. It's been very difficult.
Exactly.
Washington State just now got their DEA license this week, which is I don't know if I've spoken to you about that or not, but we just got our DEA license, so we're able to import seed from anywhere in the world. It's very cool.
Fantastic. Oh, that's a major breakthrough.
Yeah. So I don't. As far as my background, it's farming, and I think trying to touch on both sides, because I think, Tyler, that where we're coming from is from a farming, like a true, our company has actually had to back off. If you're not going to be farming, or if you don't have, hundreds of acres, it makes it very difficult. And I think you can probably appreciate that, is there's so many people out there, and it, we don't want to say no to people's dreams. That's not our intention. It just becomes too big.
You have to look at the logistics and see the feasibility of it. I mean, it's one thing if a farmer wants to grow, several thousand acres, compared to someone who's just experimenting and wants to throw a few seeds in the ground. Is that kind of where you're coming from?
Yeah, and that's and I'll give you, and there's another example of that networking thing that I went to this last Saturday. A gentleman came up to me and he says, I said, so what's your thought process on hemp? And he said, well, I want to process hemp. And I said, well, okay, so what does that look like? And he said, he kind of got a blank look on his face. And I said, well, are you going to buy a decorticator, a small one, and put it in your garage? Mm-hmm. Are you going to then have bales of hemp fiber dropped off in your driveway? And his eyes just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I think, but people, they're so passionate about hemp And there's a lot of people. I mean, Joy Beckerman is a gal that's she's been doing this stuff for 30 years. And,
Hemp Ace.
Hemp Ace. She's great. Let's just use that as an example. People are out there and they have 20 bookmarks open on their computer, but yet they still haven't quite found that. What am I going to do? How can I be involved in hemp? I would recommend going to somebody like Joy. She does charge for her time, and her time is very valuable. I can hardly get her on the phone. But I think if you're really serious about getting into hemp, there are opportunities. You don't have to, and this might be sacrilegious, but you don't have to grow the plant to be involved in hemp. All. And I think that's a miss. There's some misinformation out there that, and I'm getting this, and I'm only saying this because I get questions from people all the time. Well, I only want to grow in my back. I just have this little plot of land, and I want to grow hemp for grain so I can make soap. Okay, right. Well, once again, what does that look like? How are you going to get the grain? How are you going to press the oil? And then where are you going to store the oil? Why not just source out a oil supply and make your soap?
Exactly.
And so I'm really seeing that in my, I've only been doing hemp now for just a little under a year. And being a serial entrepreneur, like I said earlier, I don't want to say no to anybody, but it just becomes time. My time just gets it's amazing. So, right now our company is scheduled to plant. We've topped it off at 200 acres. And I'm sure there's some, oh my gosh, 200 acres. And that's only the first year. And the farmers that we're dealing with have tens of thousands of acres. So, we're 10 farmers, and there's at least probably 20,000 acres between all of us. But we've really just whirled it down to 200. Why is that? Somebody would say, well, why not have a little disaster than have a massive disaster?
Yeah, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, so we've been advised by all the seed companies that we're importing seed from to no, we don't want to be part of that. If you're going to do something like 2,000 acres, we don't want to be part of it because there is just the chance of it going sideways.
So what is your plan when the seed gets in the ground and 120 days later, approximately 3 or 4 months later, you guys are going to go out there? Do you already have all of the tractors and harvesting equipment, or are you planning on separating the seed from the fiber? What are your main intentions, and what are you growing for? Is it mainly just for research, or are you guys actually planning on producing product to sell?
That's a great question, because as you start, I say we're building a cart, and when we started it, we found the seed, and then we found the people who wanted to be involved with it. We have a whole research program. And so now we're going to be importing the seed, and now we're going to plant the seed. Well, then it became apparent that, oh, Lord, what are we going to do? Our company has, my partner owns a seed dryer. They use it to dry their corn. And they have the storage facilities that are just sitting there. So we have the ability to dry down the grain. And this is another misinformation that people don't realize, that when you harvest this grain, it's harvested green. It's harvested in the 20% percentile moisture content. Well, that has to be dried down in a very short period of time. If you don't, it will go rancid on you.
Yes.
So, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. They just think, oh, we'll just grow some grain and harvest it and put it in a container, and so we have the drying facility already. We have the storage facility. And that's where a lot of this 200 acres comes into play, because that's our limit on storage. Without having to go out, we can obviously rent some storage, but that's not what we. So that falls right into that 200 acre category. And then just this week, this has been a very interesting week, Tyler. So just this week, it looks like we're going to partner with another gentleman. He is actually leaving to Europe on Monday. He just come from Europe 2 weeks ago. He's heading back on Monday after our conversation to actually purchase a decorticator.
Wonderful.
So that changes. That 200 acres now gets cut up. We're going to start looking for some. He has access to fiber varieties, so we're going to plant some varieties of fiber, and go from there. So we have, it's all kind of come together this last week. We had the seed. Now we're looking at the fiber. You could ask the question, well, then what are you going to do with it? Well, we're in contact with a guy who's wanting to get into the import-export business. There's another avenue for people out there that, how can I get into hemp? Well, if you're good at marketing yourself, if you're good to talking to people on the phone, start making phone calls and you start talking about millions of pounds of hemp seed at 5 cents or 10 cents a pound profit. Well, you've made yourself a pretty good living there.
Oh yeah.
So this gentleman, he's got some access to some people in Korea and Japan, and he's working those avenues. So us being able to dry our grain and put it into storage gives us almost a whole year to find a home for that.
Right. Absolutely.
And as far as the decortication, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you can finish that thought as far as the decortication.
Oh, the decortication goes, his thought is look, let's get the decorticator here in the States. Let's get it up, put together. And no matter what we do, we're going to run something this year. And then, so once again, we're going to have all this byproduct. We're going to have it all broken down, and we're going to need a home for it. Then you just start going into the rabbit trail of, well, what do you do with all this raw, broken down hemp products? It's crazy. It's just literally, and that's the only thing, it's absolutely crazy the amount of uses that this plant has. So it's
absurd,
really,
yeah.
I got to tell you, Tyler, it's super exciting to be on this end of the hemp market, because it's pretty. We've shrunk it down to one focus, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, we got to get laser. The hemp industry has a history, or kind of, I guess, as we started off our conversation, it is so easy to get sidetracked and disperse your energy with all of the opportunity. I call it hemp opportunity overwhelm. And there's overwhelm as it is with the level of inundation of information, data, Facebook, social media, advertisements, banners, things that we're seeing on a constant basis to be distracted. So to throw hemp into the mix, it's like you said, going down a rabbit hole that just never ends. But my purpose at Hemp Aware is to help people get super laser focused, so that whatever it is that you do, like yourself with these certified seeds, which is what we're going to get into next, you have found that one thing that you can do. And that's why I feel like there's a lot of power behind what you guys are up to. And I'm so excited to see it come to fruition. And on that topic, so you guys are bringing in certified seed. Let's talk about the distinction between certified seed and feral seed or wild seed, or just standard hemp seeds that are kind of hodgepodge coming from different areas. People are throwing them in the ground. They don't know the names of them. Well, what's the distinction between having a certified seed or these other types of seeds that are not?
Well, so I think as somebody that's into hemp and they're listening to the show, it's like, okay, so what am I going to be producing? Am I going to be producing something just for myself? And where do I fall in the hemp market? The story, and I don't know if anybody knows this story, but there's 4 or 5 years ago when Colorado was the first state to open up hemp. So there's a gentleman there that he went around the world and he contacted everybody that he could find in the world to buy their hemp seeds. And he just bought small amounts. And he bought seed from just anybody. If they said it was hemp, he bought it. And he put it all into a bucket. And then he went out in his little garden plot out there in his backyard, and he planted an acre of hemp. And then he harvested those seeds and then sold them. Well, you can imagine the different varieties. He had marijuana. Marijuana had made its way into his seed bank. And so he had this thousands of pounds of grain that he was selling for hemp seed. There's a story of a guy out of California that spent $400,000 on hemp seed, only to have to till it under because it was hot. Well,
yeah.
In the industry, that is well known now as Colorado seed. They just call it Colorado seed, which is not good for Colorado, and they're fighting that as well. But what happens is that because the true hemp certified seed is very hard to procure because you're bringing it across United States borders. There are, I guess, Colorado is the first state to actually have bred its own, not organic, but bred its own in the United States seed. Yeah, certified seed.
Right.
I don't know a lot about that. But going back to, so when you're trying to get into hemp and you're going, well, I need seed, and some guy, hey, I got 50 pounds in my trunk. You meet somebody at a networking event, or you go to a hemp expo or something. Be really careful about that. There's, the states have really kind of screwed this up. Some of them have. There's a state of Maine has done a pretty poor job, in my opinion. They've allowed a guy to corner the market. He brought in seed to Maine illegally, and then did the exact same thing the gentleman in Colorado did. Only he went to Colorado and bought this seed. But then they gave him a market. They gave him a corner to market. He's selling seed for $1,000 a pound. Well, and people in Maine have really no recourse unless they want to be illegal. And then there's the licensing, and so you really have to, it's just something you jump into because there's so many things that play into this. I got really angry when I found that he was charging $1,000 a pound. We're absurd. We're looking at $6 a pound, and we think that even then, but we're dealing on a larger scale, so it's a little different. But there's a gentleman in Oregon he had 12,000 pounds 2 weeks ago, and he's out. Wow. And because I was going to buy some because we didn't know what Washington State was going to do, and we were going to actually grow in Oregon this year. But he went through 12,000 pounds at $20 a pound. Now, $20 a pound so the Oregon market, there's going to be a lot of hemp grown in Oregon this year. But then again, it's like I even asked him, I'm like, gee, many Christmas, $20 a pound. And he goes, hey, until this gets, I don't feel bad about it at all. And I'm like, well, okay. Once again, he wasn't selling it to people who were putting in hundreds of acres. He was selling it to people that were putting in 5. A little different.
Experimental crops.
Yeah. So, I would, anybody out there wanting to grow hemp, if you go to the website, if you don't mind a plug here, if you go to the website, Hemp Logic USA, and you'll go to the certified seed page, there's literally a page there that breaks down certified seed from the actual foundation. They call it foundation seed and breeder seed. And then it explains to you what you want to look for. There needs to be tags on the bag. I mean, if you're not buying a 50-pound bag of grain or seed, a certified seed, something's not right. Because you don't know what it is. And what you don't want to do, and for those that are, going to be planting seed on their home property, if you're growing marijuana and for some reason, they test it or you didn't go through the permitting process, like, you're being a rebel, which I'm totally for. But if you not bought a certified seed and you end up planting marijuana, well, now you have a whole backyard full of marijuana. I don't want to deal with something like that.
So on that note, let's discuss. What is your take on the idea of classifying industrial hemp as separate from the cannabinoid, THC-rich varieties of cannabis? I know we've discussed this before.
You're gonna light me on, or people are gonna want to light me on fire. This has caused more chaos in my world than really any other topic. As an industrial farmer, as somebody that's going to be doing thousands of acres, the cannabinoid, the CBD market, is one that in Washington State they've separated it from industrial hemp. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't know the politics of it, and I don't want to get into the politics of it. All that I know as a farmer, it makes it easier. And that's really, some people would say, and that's a big, Tyler, that is a big deal. There's some people out there that, like I said, they're going to want to hang me and torch me. I get it, and we've had this conversation off air, was, look, if CBD was only being able to be produced from industrial hemp, I would be absolutely 100% on board with trying to get it. Look, it has to be included. It has to be included in industrial hemp. But because you can actually produce CBD from a marijuana with higher THC levels than 0.03, it makes it easy for me. And like I said, when you're doing hundreds or thousands of acres, it makes it easier for me to say, well, let's separate that. And there's a lot of discussions about CBD and, is it a Schedule 1? Is it not Schedule 1? And can we produce CBDs from industrial hemp? Well, of course you can. And people are doing it, in Kentucky. But another thing, and this is going back to, what part of the industrial hemp market do you want to be in? Keep in mind that there's these states that have been doing CBD now for a couple of years. They figured it out, and they are producing a lot of oil. There's big boys doing this, and so if you're saying, well, I'm going to grow my backyard with CBD plants and then sell the CBD plant material, well, be really careful, because you're going to be growing these plants and you're not going to have a market because it's not needed. The market is being saturated at this point. And the law and the market, there's all these things, and it's like, I'm sure there's some people out there going, oh, that's kind of where I wanted to go, and once again, it's the research part, and there's no shame in asking for help, and people like Joy Beckerman are good, and yourself, it's an email to you, and you know what, lead you, where should I go? Give me some direction, because it's you don't want to go down a rabbit trail that's not going to make you money.
Yeah, no, we've got to make this lucrative, and for the people that are in it just for the fun of it and they're not wanting to make a living, that's perfectly all right. There's the artisans out there, or there's the craftsmen, there's people that are just kind of end users that want to make stuff. That's great, but as far as making a life out of it and really, in my opinion, transforming the planet and making change, it requires change. And that's why they call it change. When you go to the store and buy something, you get your change back. So we're literally using that coin, we're using that change to make change in the world. And I feel that hemp is that bridge. It's that way that we can influence the economy, the ecology, the way that we live in our homes, the way that we live our everyday life. I feel like hemp is something that will literally influence every single aspect of our lives including our health, including wars around the world, preventing wars, things of that nature. It's so much more. So the more people that get into it, not so much to make money, but knowing that it is an extremely lucrative industry, if they do it right, that's what we're encouraging and supporting people that have a higher dream and a vision and a purpose and a very clear why as to what they're doing. And it's not just about making money. I feel the momentum, and I'm very excited about this. So with that said, what are the services and products that Hemp Logic USA is providing currently? And if somebody were to contact you or a farmer were to contact you today, how could you help them, move forward in their business with these certified seeds? What would be the process?
Well, it depends on which state you're in. Each state has their own, and Hemp Logic USA is more on the farming side of this thing. If you're a large farmer and you want to learn about producing hemp on an industrial scale, this is where we would come in and help you. Believe it or not, we're still it's this. Just touching on what your last little segment was, it's industrial hemp we're in the very fetus stage of this industry. When you say you're taking, and for the world and everything, it's so new. But going, going back to, if you were to contact me, and you lived in Washington State and you wanted to just get into the gardening side, or if you had 10 acres or 15 acres, our research pilot program is we've kind of closed it because we don't have room for any more. But it doesn't mean that you can't participate in the Washington State program. There's licensing and all that stuff. But I can help you get seed. Once again, you don't have to go through Hemp Logic. You can import your own seed, but I think you'll find that it's very difficult to find or have anybody even talk to you unless you're buying 10,000 pounds.
Massive quantities. Yeah.
Yeah, massive
a container
quantities.
full.
It's just and even then it's just super difficult to get it into the States. We will have a breeding and research program beginning this. We're going to try to get it going this year at some level, and then really hit it hard with all these seed companies this following in 2018.
Excellent.
So farming. If you're into farming, we can help you, lead you down the right direction. And we have contacts for contracts for hemp or fiber and seed and grain and that kind of stuff. So that's where Hemp Logic USA has really started to find its footing, is in the farming market.
Very good. So being that you're in the farming market, you've gotten through the loopholes, so to speak, of importing certified seed. What were some of the challenges that you guys have had to overcome at Hemp Logic USA, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Getting people to talk to you. You have to, they get so many, and I know this because I'm starting to get the amount of emails that I'm sure these other people that have been in business for quite a while are getting. That you get the people that are wanting to grow that little portion of grain so they can make soap, and they just don't have the time. So you get, when I inquire about that, I'm lost in the I'm lost in the emails. I couldn't even get phone calls back. So I had to go. And I had to go out and find people, and I'll use Joy Beckerman again, and use somebody like her to put me in contact with people. It's all about the hemp industry is very small.
It is.
There's a dozen names out there, and they are the ones that have been doing this for 20 years. And then there's another circle that's a little bit larger. It's probably another 20 people in it that and then it gets into the big mass. So once again, you have to start asking questions. If you were to send me an email, go, where would I start? Well, that's perfect, because then I can lead you, or I can push you to I can push you to Joy, I can push you to other people that are in the industry. that are wanting to help people get involved. So that was that was our big finding. We had the hey, I got 50 pounds of grain and I got 50 pounds of seed in my trunk. We were down in Oregon at some hemp thing, and literally this guy's like, hey man, I heard you were looking for some hemp seed, and he literally had 50 pounds of seed in a box in his trunk. I'm not getting I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
Well, so on that note, let's go a little bit deeper. So
Sure.
This whole thing about certified seed and why it's so important. So talk about the repercussions of these guys that are just getting seed from everywhere else. If they put that in the field next to a field that's certified seed, how would that be affected with cross-pollination, or like is it actually going to kind of ruin things if guys are out there just throwing all sorts of seed in the ground? Can you talk about?
I think that's a little bit of a scare tactic. I think if you have a certified seed and you have a feral seed, but let's classify feral, what does that mean? I mean, does it mean that it's marijuana? Does that mean that it's just a different variety? I think if you're just
the word feral, I think essentially just means wild. So it's like it's like ditchweed. You see a big old hemp plant out in someone's like ditch, and nobody knows how long it's been there. Nobody knows how long it's been around. They don't know what cultivar or variety it is. It's just kind of this wild.
It's mostly. I mean, I would say for me it would be a marijuana plant than a hemp plant.
Okay.
The concern of it cross-pollinating, I guess, if there was a marijuana plant growing across the street in the ditch from one of our fields, you could probably say that, it wouldn't affect that generation, but it would affect the seeds. The plant itself wouldn't show signs of marijuana, but the seeds from that plant the following year would show signs of THC. And so you can't pass, and hemp is classified as 0.03 or less. Yes. So there's all these testing. So, if somebody can't prove to you that the seeds that you're growing or going to be buying are tested and are below 0.03%, you shouldn't buy it. It's just not worth it.
Absolutely.
And the market is starting to mature. The market's starting to mature a little bit. There's more, this coming 2018, there's even going to be more access to seed because we'll have more access to seed. And I see within 5 years the industrial hemp market being there will be no borders, where you can literally come to Washington State, buy seed, and go to Wyoming and plant.
Kentucky or Wyoming,
Exactly.
Montana.
Kentucky's got some breeding programs. Colorado's got some breeding programs. They're just a little bit farther ahead than we are, but we're planning on really hitting this thing hard and having a secure certified seed availability by the end of 2019. We should have our own grain produced in Washington State, certified. And that's another thing is that, coming out of Europe, they have these dual purpose varieties. Well, when you do a dual purpose variety,
you have lower breeding quality.
It's just like breeding a cow. Do you have a cow that makes milk or do you have a cow that makes beef? Well, if you have a dual variety hemp, you have a dual does it make seed or does it make fiber? At Hemp Logic, we're literally bringing in only grain, and we're only bringing in fiber varieties.
That's wise.
So,
very wise.
Because once again, because of our farming and what we're trying to do, if we're going to spend $1,300 an acre just to grow this, we have to have the maximum amount of production of what we're producing. So,
exactly.
I get a lot of that. I do get a lot of that. What about the dual varieties? Go ahead.
Yeah, we just have a couple more minutes, so I have just maybe 2 more questions. And thank you again for your time. I'm so excited to see what you guys are up to. You're really spearheading the hemp seed certified, hemp seed market. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is coming to fruition. Let's get a little bit more into the benefits that farmers are going to be receiving from investing in growing hemp. Particularly Washington farmers. Obviously that's going to be the easiest market to work with and to see the most benefit. What do you see in the next 2 to 5 years? Some of the main benefits that these farmers can experience beyond the profits.
Well, we're looking at adding it as a second crop. What that means is a lot of farmers will plant a Timothy hay, and then it's only really good for one cutting. And so they'll plant this grass in the fall. It'll winter over, and then they'll harvest it in late April, early May. Well, that works great for us because once they harvest that grain or that Timothy hay off, gets baled up and hauled off the field, then we come through and plant hemp. Meaning now he's double crop. He's literally getting 2 crops for the price of one, because the first crop, the Timothy, paid for everything. And so we've got some people that are going to be doing that this year, and we're really excited to see what that is and how that works out. As far as anything else, it's just a rotational. Put it into the rotation: corn, wheat, barley, alfalfa, anything just to add another rotation. We're really looking. The research of this is really exciting to see what it does to the soil, what it doesn't do to the soil. We're really excited just on the research side of this, because there isn't a whole lot of research out there.
Right on. Well, as a parting question, and to kind of wrap up the show, what would be an ideal scenario for Hemp Logic USA in the next 12 months to 2 years? What would you see an ideal scene or scenario for you guys as a company and kind of the hemp industry as a whole?
Well, I think if anybody was interested, if there were some farmers or people that had land on a massive scale that wanted to get into hemp, and this would be in any state, grow some fiber or I can't transport viable grain across state lines, but I can transport fiber. It's weird. It's the hemp. Yeah, the laws are just crazy. But if you were to say, well, what does Hemp Logic USA look like in 12 months? I would like to see that, I've got contracts with farmers all over west side of Colorado. And we've talked and we've secured, the seed for them in their state, and they're growing hemp for us so we can run through our decorticator. That would be right on ideal. And of course in Washington State, we have the access to the land. It's just the markets, which we've talked about before, is the markets need to grow into this industry. It's so
absolutely.
Which is a $600 million import right now. The USA is importing $600 million worth of hemp products across international borders. There's a strong Mexico for the herd, Mexico market for the herd building. And so it's just amazing, that damn rabbit trail will eat you alive.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thank you so much, Corey. I really appreciate what you guys are up to. Check out hemplogicusa.com, everyone. If you're wanting to get into hemp farming, you want to get access to seed, particularly if you're in Washington, give Corey a call or go to their website, contact them, and let's make it hemping together. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Corey. I appreciate it.
Right on, Tyler. Thank you for having me. This is my first show, and it's been interesting. I've enjoyed it. I'd look forward to do it again. Let's do that. Let's say that.
Let's do it. Yeah, in 12 months we'll come back and give people an update on everything that transpired over the year.
That'd be awesome. I'd appreciate that. So thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is your Hemptrepreneurial host, Tyler Hemp with HempAware Radio. Go to hempaware.com. If you guys need marketing services, branding services, logo creation, website design, or any other type of marketing services for your hemp company, we are so excited and happy to be of service. Check us out, hempaware.com, 805-410-4367. Make it a hempsational day. Thanks so much.